So this is for the app called Book Creator. Um, and this was an app I found. It's an instructional technology tool, and you can use this in really any subject, any area for any requirement that a student might have. And so this is the one that I will be telling y'all about today. Okay, move y'all over a little bit. Okay, so Book Creator is an educational technology platform that allows teachers and students to create any type of content: books, comic strips, vocabulary notebooks, portfolios, or even research projects. With this tool, the possibilities are endless. Okay, so I'm going to take y'all to the actual website. This is not through Clever, but this is like if I were going to Google and searching it. So let's see if it'll take me right there. Okay. So this is what you would see when you just go to Google and search for Book Creator. Um, and you can create a free account. So Miss Gaines, that might be what you need to do there, since you don't have a Clever. But we'll go back around to that at the end of the slides. Um, so Book Creator, you have an area up here that tells you all about the different features and the pricing for it. There is a free version, and that's what we get on Clever. And I think the free version, I'll take y'all to it. Let's see what it says. So the pricing you get for your starter, that's what we would have. Um, You get one library up to 40 books. So you could create 40 books for free. You have an unlimited amount of students. And then the premium, which gives you a lot more to offer. It's about $13 a month. So this would actually be a really good thing to possibly write a grant for. If you wanted to do a membership and use it as something for your classroom year round, because of course you see you have you can create an unlimited amount of libraries, so you could have one for each subject. You could create up to 1,000 books. There's a new version of their translation tool. There is a basic translator, but there's more templates and a lot more. But the free version gives you enough to get you started so you understand what it's about, and students can practice with it. And then there is information for schools and districts to purchase it as well. It's really just whatever works for you individually. Um, so let's go back up here. I really want to talk to you about the features. Um, so it's sort of like Canva, but a kid-friendly version. Um, Kids can log into this through their Clever account. So they wouldn't have to remember a username or a password. You have plenty of fonts to choose from. You have plenty of ways to find images to add to your book or comic strip or whatever you're creating. You can add images of your own. You can add them from Google, or you can even use the pen and draw. So kids could draw their own illustrations. You can add in a video, like you can embed links. You can record your voice. So there's plenty of different ways to personalize this. Um, and then you can also use shapes and icons and emojis. Um, but also, as you're going to see, there's several different types of layouts. So, for example, if you're doing comic strips in one class, there's several different layouts for that. There's several different types of books or sizes of books that they can create. Really, the options for personalizing this are endless. So they even have plenty of templates to start from. So if you are, I know Miss LaRue, you're going over story elements, then they have elements or templates for that. If they were doing the alphabet, there's stuff for that. Um, I saw one, and there's one right here in the corner where they create like a newspaper article, and I thought that was pretty neat. Um, so then there's the pen tool. It's also called Auto Draw, and it works with AI, and they can draw. If they're not the best artist, it's okay. They can work with the program to build whatever they need or draw whatever they need. Um, so you could embed like YouTube videos. Um, if you wanted to use something like Google Maps or Google Forms, if you had like a quiz or something, you could embed that into the book. So while people are reading your book, you wouldn't have to leave. Um, they have there's an example of the comic strip. Um, they can add stickers, all that kind of stuff. Um, And when I refer to a class library, I mean a collection. So, like, I might have one library. If I taught different grade levels, I might have one for fourth grade, one for fifth grade, and so on. But all of your books are within that library. Um, it has a read to me feature. So, um, there are plenty of already created books and resources that you can access, teachers and students. And, that would make it more accommodated for people, for students that needed um, those tools. Um, let's see. So once they finish the book, um, they could, publish online. You can share it as an ebook. You can even print it, and give them a hard copy. You can send it home to share with parents. Um, so let me scroll all the way down. I really wanted to go over how it helps with special education and English language learners because that was a feature I didn't know they had tailored. So here, this is the special education. You can differentiate it to IEP goals. Um, instead of giving a student a traditional test on paper or telling them to create a poster, you could tell them to come up with an idea for a book or tell them to come up with notes on what you're teaching or give them, maybe an article to read or video to watch and then have them um, create a small picture book, maybe one fact per page or something like that. It really meets them where they are and lets them create what they are able to. There are no limits, and they can be as creative as possible. Um, it also there's plenty of videos here about how other educators are using it to be more inclusive and different things that they've used Book Creator for in different subjects. And then I wanted to go to the English language learners tab. So one thing I thought was really cool, and I'll show you an example. Um, they have a translation tool or a translator. Um, and let's see if I can find it on here. So this guy right here, this little boy, he created a book in just 6 months after joining a classroom without speaking a word of English. And he did all of that on Book Creator. It has those templates really help those students so they don't have to start from scratch. I know Ms. Roper, she does the access testing. So there's test prep for access. I thought that was pretty neat. And then let me see. I might have to go in and show you specifically. Let's see how. Okay. Trying to figure out there we go. If I can minimize, there we go. Okay. So I have my Clever pulled up. So I'm going to log in with my Google. Now, when you guys go to pull up Book Creator, it'll be on, you go to library, and it should be at the very bottom of the home screen of library, right there. And if it's not, you can always use the search bar to search for it. Since I've already added it to my page, when I click on it, it'll say like leave a review. When you click on it, it might say install, and then it'll put it on your page over here on the left-hand side, my teacher pages. Mine is already on my page, so I'm going to go there. You'll click on the icon. Okay. And then this is what it shows when you pull it up. This is what would show if you have not started anything and you're logging into it for the first time. Um, so students would have an option to create a book from scratch. So they have full control over every element of the book. They can start from a template book. So let's say, okay, I'll just go through each option. So let's say they wanted to create a new book. Then it'll immediately ask them what template they want. So you have a smaller book size, you have a larger one, and then a bigger one. The comics are down below that. And then if I go up here to templates, it'll show you like there's a cookbook option, there's a newspaper article, a magazine, just a notebook, yearbook. I thought that might be neat for maybe sixth graders specifically because this is their last year of elementary school. That might be really something they would be interested in. So they might have something to look back on for sixth grade. There's tons of different themes that they can go to. There's like graffiti, retro, antique, emojis, the comic, neon. So they can pick any of those to start with if the blank option sort of scares them a little bit. So if I go back to my books, any books that I've created will pull up here. So I'm going to click on these little 3 lines, and that's going to take me back to the home page, like my dashboard. If I go up to Discover, this is going to let me see all of the different options that are available, but also resources that have already been created. So let's see if I can scroll down. Here's one where it shows you examples by grade level. So some that kindergarten students made. These would be examples for elementary students. They have a middle school database where you can find examples there, high school, and even, college and beyond. What I really wanted to point out was all of the different subject areas that you can use this for. And I want to go back to the slides because I had some specific examples here. So for ELA, you could create a book. They could create their own book, like they're writing their story for you, Miss LaRue. So they could create a published version on here, print it out, and have a hard copy of that book that they created. You could do one on poetry, bio poems, and really anything within the world of ELA you could create a book on. It wouldn't just have to be a story. For math, same thing. They could create a how-to book for dividing with fractions or multiplying with fractions. Whatever the math topic is, maybe they would want to create a resource book to use in the future. Again, the possibilities are endless. For science, I thought this was really neat. This shows you an example of a student using it for using his own illustrations along with pictures. And they use the drawing tool on Book Creator and drew a set of lungs. Now this one for social studies, I thought this one was really neat. Madeline's Heritage. Now I remember Ms. Haley, you were talking about all the students were bringing you all of their stories and things from their family's history. And so this little girl, she created a book of pictures, and for each picture, she recorded her voice telling them about the people in the picture. And so you got to hear her side of it, her explaining her family heritage, but also you got to see that. And so you weren't just reading it, you got a little bit more personal touch, which I thought was really neat. Also, there were plenty of examples for foreign languages. This is a book that had um, vocabulary for lower EL students. They had like their colors, their numbers, sort of like a go-to guide for them. You could use it for, I know Miss Allison, she's coming to do those nutrition lessons with the sixth graders this year. So maybe at the end of all of her lessons, they could create a book about or a guide about what they learned from her, how to be healthy for kids, and then do their own illustrations as well. Um, and then I'm going to go back and show you the inside of some of these books. I like to go to that social studies one. And then Madeline's. Here she is. So again, you can click on these areas. I'm sorry I didn't show you that. You can scroll all the way down. When you go to the Discover page at the top, you can scroll all the way down, click on your specific subject area and get ideas. This one was in social studies, and you have plenty of other um, examples that you can show students, and they let you read them. Some of them have audio that you can play for them. So I feel like this tool allows students to be more customized with their learning products, because a lot of platforms don't let you add audio or anything like that. And so this takes it to the next level. Let's see, where is she at? Down here. And then I hope you're able to hear this through your side. So that's the cover. And then if I click on the audio, it should read it out. Okay, let's see. Was everybody able to hear that? No? Okay. Well, basically, I'll just show you what the inside looks like. So she has different pictures of her loved ones, her family, and she's described them in an audio um, section at the bottom. And so there she's able to focus more on that speaking part rather than just sitting there and typing the whole thing. So it makes it more interactive and personalized. And so she did one for each of her pictures. So I thought that was a neat one. And then I'll show you one of the ones for different languages. Since I know that we are a school that has, a large Hispanic population, I feel like this would be a really good tool for them to utilize. And it would help them feel like they're making something as well, and not feel so behind. So this is the Spanish for Beginners, the example that was on the slides. And so very simple on the front, they can choose the text and everything that goes on there. And so here she had phrases, so English and Spanish versions of how to say things. These are the most common things, she's going to hear, she or he are going to hear on a daily basis. So having those handy would be good. Then there are her numbers and colors, and if you tap on them, she will hear how to say them. Same for the colors. Animals, fruit. I feel like this would be one of those things maybe, you could have ready for those students who come in on a lower grade level. That way, it's something other than just a worksheet full of English words that they don't know how to access right off the bat. And then, of course, they can add a message, an ending, anything like that. So I did show you some of the examples. I mean, there's all types of languages on here. One of the ones that was on the slides, this one here on the left, this is actually a dialect from a tribe in Alaska, which I thought was pretty neat. So you might even want students to research a culture that is different from theirs. And so they can go on here and access these different resources themselves. This is not just on the teacher side, but it also gives students an example. So I know we have a lot that they just sit there and they don't know where to start, or they're like, well, what do I do next, or what should it look like? And this gives them that exploration, that they can figure that part out on their own, and we don't have to just tell them. So I did think about how this would be. That was mainly for the different subject areas. This is mainly for use in the library. I felt like since Miss Gainish, you do stations when they come for library classes. Since this one is a tool that might require them to have a little bit more time to create a product, they could earn this as a prize for great behavior in the library over maybe a month, or a long period of time. So a long-term goal. And it could just be an option that the upper grades have access to. You wouldn't have to provide this with everybody. Um, Maybe you want them to partner up and create a comic strip for a book they just finished. Another idea I thought of might be to get them to create a prequel or a sequel to a book they've read in the library. I know a lot of them like the Dogman books, or um, the Bad Guys, I think, or any of those that might just have a set number in their series. They could choose the prequel option and write what the book, the characters did before there was a series, or maybe they write a sequel and they choose to do a book that takes place 5 years after the first story ended. So maybe some time has passed there. Since the journalism club is using, or they're coming to you a lot and they're using all these different tools, they could also use this. They could do that yearbook template and create a yearbook for each homeroom class. They could create a photo album, a photo book for all school events. And then we could even put a link to those books on the school website, so parents and families could have access to that. And then one other thought I had was that I know in the past we've had reading buddies. So older kids have gone down to help the younger kids read during their independent reading time. And so students in the upper grades could create the books and then go down and help the students in the lower grades practice those readings. And so those are just some ideas for explicitly the library. Um, so really this tool, you can use it anywhere, any grade level. That's one reason I really like this, was you can kind of make it whatever you need it to be. Again, going back to benefits for diverse learners, EL students, special ed, you can tell them to create a certain type of product, and they have total creative freedom in that, and they can do so in a way that feels comfortable for them. I know our students are really, especially sixth grade, they're really comfortable with technology and they know a lot more than we do. So the tool is really user friendly. It's easy to manage, easy for them to navigate. So they're not at our desk asking us how to do everything every time. It gives them a little bit of that independence back. So they can also, the students that are lower, that need those accommodations, they have the freedom to do this without feeling stuck or overwhelmed. Like, I don't know how to do this. This is something they're familiar with. And it lets them create, and it takes off a little bit of that burden of being where everyone else is. Now, one thing I didn't mention was in the um, in the book creation process, a student can record their voice, have it translated to a different language. So let's say our students that are they don't speak a lot of English, they could record their voice in Spanish and it will translate it to English for them. They could also do it on a book that's already created. If it's not in Spanish or whatever language they needed, they can translate anything into whatever language they need. And I'll show you too where you can translate, and there's tons of different languages too. I know we had a student previously that spoke the Haitian Creole. Okay, I think that was one of them. So it's not just exclusive to Spanish. Um, Plenty of templates are available to guide the students through the process. So if they don't feel comfortable starting from scratch, they have that template to go to. There's also text to speech to text, and several other things that they can do. And so this levels the playing field for the students so they don't feel um, overwhelmed on top of the content that they're learning. So I thought those were all really good benefits to point out for this tool. Okay, so now I'm going to let you guys try. Just on a piece of paper somewhere, a sticky note, whatever you have next to you, write down just a few words about what you're teaching right now. Or Miss Gaines, if you want to just come up with an idea from any subject, since I know you don't teach just one subject. So for example, like math could be adding decimals. Miss LaRue, since you're doing story elements, something like that. Miss Haley, something maybe for inventions. I heard you talking about today. So, and then once you have that idea of or that topic that you're teaching, just write down an idea that a student might create, a book or a resource from book creator that they might create. Maybe it's a how-to book on how to do something. Maybe it's a book of inventions. Maybe it's a book of inventions that one person is accredited to. Something like that. And once you have that idea, you'll go into your Clever account and see if you can locate that book creator app. We clicked on the library page on the left-hand side, and it should have been down at the bottom. If you can't see it at the bottom, just use the search bar. And then I'll go over to my Clever page. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Okay, so library, this is where I found it. It was all the way down at the bottom. And it's that rainbow book shape with the scissors. And if you couldn't see that, you could go up here to the search and search for it. And then once you see it, it should say, when you click on it, it should say something like install. And then once you have it installed, it'll be on your teacher page over here on the left. And so what you're going to do is once you get all the way logged in, and if you're not able to do that here, that's okay. You can take a little bit of extra time tomorrow to figure it out if you need. Let's see if I exit out and go back in. If you'll just choose a template, you can choose, you can create a new book or you can start from a template book. Just go on there and practice doing at least adding like a title. And to do that, you're going to go up here to the yellow plus sign. And then you would just click on text or images. When you click on text, it's going to pop up a box like this. And let's say I added hello. Hello. And then I go to the volume sign down here. That's actually, no, sorry. The one right next to it. That's actually the translate. So let's say I wanted to translate just the word hello or whatever I've typed. Then I can say Spanish. I can click on Spanish. I can scroll and it will give me all of the different languages. And there are just, there are plenty to choose from, whatever language you would need. English is there. So I'm just going to go back up to Spanish. Let's see. So maybe if I highlight it, maybe that. And then hit translate. And so it automatically translates it to whatever you need them to do. If they need to turn in English, if they need to turn in Spanish, whatever. You can bold, underline. You can change your text color. Now, if you were doing something with math, the math symbols are also in the text box. So you could add any of those math symbols that you needed, the exponents, any of that. To add images, you would go up to the plus sign as well. That's where you're going to add anything that you need. Images, you can take a picture and add a picture straight from your camera. The pen is where you would draw your own illustrations. You can record there your audio part. If you wanted to add, look for other templates, that would be under media. You could add shapes, icons. You could upload a file. Let's say it's a student that needs a little bit more guidance. You might upload a file of like a fill in the blank story template, and they fill in the blank instead of starting from scratch. And you could also embed a video. So while people are reading, they click on a link and it takes them to a video. I have not figured out how to do this yet because it does take a little bit of playing around with, but you can also use like an AI image generator. You can use emojis. You can bring something over from Canva if you've created it there. If you're looking for maps or anything like that, all of those apps are available to use with this. So there's so many options that it does take a little bit of time to get comfortable with it. But once students have played around with it once or twice, they kind of get the gist of it. If you wanted to share or publish, then you could publish here, and that makes it available on the website for anybody to go see. And then you could also download and print by going to the same place. Now, I believe this is also like you can leave comments. Let's see. Yeah. So that's really the big parts of Book Creator. They can, if you want a more specific product rather than just having them create something generalized or random, I would really suggest going to that Discover tab. Let's see if I can go back there. You would just go back to your library, click on the 3 lines beside your name, and go to Discover. And that would show you all of the templates and give students plenty of ideas. You can go to Learn at the top, and it will give you plenty of information on how to do or use all of the different tools. You can do like collaborating with other users of Book Creator. There's a tab for administrators. If you have, you need troubleshooting help or anything like that. And then there's also a tab for accessibility. So it gives you more information on how you can differentiate it for any student that needs that. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about Creator? Let's see. Okay. So again, once you have an idea of something that you want students to create, and if you don't want to use a lot of paper or you want, an option that doesn't use as many materials, and that's something students can create just on their Chromebooks, and it's in one place and they can go back to it as many times as they need and they won't lose it. Then Book Creator is a really good option. So you can play around with the tools. It might take you a few days to get the hang of it. It took me a little bit to explore all of the different options that it had, but any student can go on there and be as creative as possible, as they want to be. Okay, so that was Book Creator. You had a little bit of a opportunity to practice with that. Feel free to do that whenever you have time. I think the students would, in 6th grade specifically, I feel like they would really enjoy this because we have so many of those that are creative, that like to draw and work on books in their free time. So they might not know about this tool. And so I feel like that would give them a really good creative outlet to publish their work. So if you don't mind, just scanning the QR code with your phone and completing the survey for me to give me some feedback, I would really appreciate it. And I also, I don't know if you have heard about this tool before, or you have that much experience with it. But if you need any help with this throughout the day or what for whatever project you're doing, I'm happy to help because I'm sure that there's plenty to learn from it, and I'm sure they're not done adding to the resources as well. So, if you don't mind just scanning that QR code, doing that survey, and that's all I have. So, please let me know if you have any questions. Thank y'all so much for participating and being there for me. Um, and that's all I need. Okay. All right. Thank y'all. Let's see if I can stop it now. Okay, stop share. Okay. All right. Okay. And bye guys. Okay.